Yeah, Captain, a couple actually. Thank you. Where do we stand with the investigation? And one of the questions I would have is, were members of that task force, the marshals, wearing body cameras as a matter of course?
Okay, thank you. We are still very early in this investigation. Our detectives are working tirelessly late into the night last night and back in early this morning working on that. We're uncovering every piece of evidence, video, physical, and otherwise, including witness statements, and literally every piece that we can find of anything. Not prepared to discuss the particulars of what evidence we do and don't have at this time, but I can tell you that we are investigating every piece of that. And also, if there are any particular personnel matters regarding the U.S. Marshal Service, we would want to refer those matters to the U.S. Marshal Service.
Understood. Let me follow up with that. I mean, yeah, I'm sorry. Just to follow up, though, can you tell us whether they wear body cameras? And B, can you tell us, we understand the gun was recovered. Was it in the glove box, or where was that gun recovered?
Yeah, again, at this time, we're not prepared to talk about the particulars of any kind of pieces of evidence, including any kind of body cameras. We did release yesterday that there was a gun recovered, but because of the position of this investigation right now, we're not prepared to discuss exact details on the condition or location of that. Paige, you had a question?
Yes, thanks, Captain. This is Paige from WBTV. Can you tell us more about the warrants that the deputies were trying to serve on Mr. Jennings? And is that deputy on leave, or is that what you're regarding? We'd have to talk to the U.S. Marshal Service for that, those matters.
Yeah, sure. That would be a personnel matter within the U.S. Marshal Service. So I would refer you to them for their policies, on any kind of leave or anything like that. I can answer your question on the warrants that we were serving. A bit of a list, and I guess I can have our folks put that out to you in detail. But they included 3 warrants out of Carolina Beach, North Carolina, that were assault with a deadly weapon on a government official, flee to elude arrest with a motor vehicle, and reckless driving. 5 warrants out of Charlotte, including 6 warrants, 2 possession of firearm by felon, breaking and entering, discharging a firearm in city limits, assault on a female, and damage to property. And then in addition to that, there were 6 traffic warrants out of York County, South Carolina, and a possession of marijuana warrant out of York County, South Carolina as well.
Captain, just clarify that it's U.S. Marshals that were serving those warrants, not us.
That's correct. Yeah, just to clarify that all of those warrants, the attempt at service on those warrants was the U.S. Marshals. There were not any CMPD personnel on that scene until after the incident had happened, when we came in to assist with the investigation and security area. Amanda?
Hey, good morning. Can you describe generally what the communication is like between the U.S. Marshals Service and CMPD? And was CMPD aware that the warrant was being served that day?
Yeah, again, all of that's part of our ongoing investigation right now. Obviously, all law enforcement agencies in the area have communication with one another. As far as the communication that was happening yesterday morning, that's still part of our investigation. We're looking at any kind of radio traffic, phone calls, anything else that might be out there. There was any kind of communication between that task force and CMPD, but again, CMPD was not involved with the initial scene. However, CMPD officers did arrive within minutes to assist in the investigation after the shooting.
And can you explain how CMPD came to arrive at the scene? Was that from radio traffic, from 911 calls? How did they get there?
At this time, again, I'm sorry, but again, that's part of our initial investigation right now. We're diving into all of those areas to determine exactly how that communication laid out. Lana Harris.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. So there was obviously talk in the community about CMPD's role in this. There's obviously trust there. and people were talking about how you all are assisting in this investigation, and now you're the entity as well investigating the incident. So can you explain that role, how that works, how you are assisting in the investigation and investigating the shooting itself versus an outside entity? Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. As we're the originating agency with jurisdiction to investigate any kind of crimes that happen within Charlotte and the areas of Mecklenburg County that we cover. And so by default, we are the investigating agency. Like any of these other shootings, the agencies involved could ask for an investigation by, say, the SBI or the FBI or something, but those requests were not made. So as the originating agency, we were the investigating agency, and so that is our role. Amanda, another question?
Hey, thanks again. Can you explain who would be making the request of the SBI to investigate this situation?
Any of those kind of requests would be made by the supervisory staff of the agency involved. So in this case, it would be if there were a different request. Again, by default, we are the investigating agency. If they were to request that, that would come from the head U.S. Marshal here in Charlotte.
And can you explain why the name of the deputy involved isn't being released right now?
Yeah, sure. Again, as part of our active investigation, we have not completely finished interviewing everyone involved and looking at every piece of evidence. In a CMPD shooting, it's our responsibility as the agency. If one of our officers is involved, it's the responsibility of our agency to release that information. And so we would defer to the U.S. Marshal's office for the release of a name or any other personnel information that you might request. Amanda?
All right, thank you again. Can you speak to any concerns that CMPD isn't able to remain as sort of an independent agency here? It sounds like the victim in this case has warrants out of Charlotte. It sounds like the marshal collaborates with CMPD regularly. Can you sort of speak to anyone who would have some concerns about whether CMPD would be able to remain unbiased and independent in this investigation?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I think the first and most important thing is that we are an agency that is completely independent to this particular incident. In other words, we did not have any officers there until the incident was complete, at which point we helped with locking down a crime scene. And so we really only got involved in the investigative portion of this crime. So we are an independent agency investigating this. You know, just to be straight with you, we're going to be we're going to look at every single piece of evidence. We're going to leave nothing unturned. It doesn't matter whether it's a homicide somewhere else involving normal citizens or a shooting incident involving a law enforcement officer. We're going to be objective and do a comprehensive investigation, and that investigative packet will be submitted to the district attorney's office. We also have the district attorney's office with us all the way through the investigation from start to finish on scene and as we process everything. So there's yet another layer of independence watching over and overseeing the investigation.